One of the things that Node is very useful for, but is not commonly used for, is building low-level networking applications. And that is because it exposes the TCP stack to you, so you do not need to build HTTP applications if you don't want to. You can drop down to the level of TCP and bind to sockets and write messages back and forth all you want. In this example, we're going to create a simple TCP server and a TCP client so that you can see how you would go about building that kind of low-level networking application. In the miscellaneous folder, I'm going to create two files again. Touch miscellaneous net-server.js and touch miscellaneous net-client.js. I'm going to open up the server and note at the top that this is an example TCP, aka net, which is the package that Node calls the TCP API's server. I'm also going to note that this listens to port 6000 and sends the word pong to clients. You can guess what the clients are going to send to the server. They're going to send the word ping. Now, as far as dependencies, we only need the one. We need var net equals require net. Again, when you see net in Node.js parlance, you can just think of TCP. Now we want to create the server. We're going to call var server equals net.createServer. The syntax should start to seem familiar to you now, as the different ways of creating servers all seem to have familiar traits. And then we're going to expect back a connection object in the callback. Now that we have the connection, we can send the word pong. So we want to say that the outbound message, the one leaving the server, is just a string called pong. And on this connection, we want to write the outbound message. But now, when the client writes something, we want to log it out. So connection on data. So when it receives something from a client, we want to get past the inbound message. Now that we have it, we want to get it as a string. So message string is going to equal inbound message to string. And then we want to log it out. So console log is going to equal I wrote outbound message, and they said message string. So it is going to say that the outbound message that it wrote, and then it's going to tell the inbound message that it received. Finally, we have to do what we always do, which is tell the server to listen on a port. So the server, listen, 6000. Now let's go over to the client, add some comments at the top here. We're going to say that this is an example TCP client, aka net, and that it connects to port 6000 and sends the word ping to the servers. It too is just going to have the one dependency, var net equals require net. Now we want to define the message that they should send. So the outbound message, again, this time is going to be ping instead of pong. Now we want to create the client by saying that var client equals net create connection. This is creating connection to a server on port 6000. We're going to expect back a callback, and when it does call back, we want to send the message, because that means this connection is open and it's ready for us to write stuff. So client write outbound message. Now what we've done so far is opened up the connection to this server and wrote a message. What we can expect is that the server is configured to write back a message as soon as it receives a message from the client. So now we need to configure the client to parse out this message from the server when it receives it in response to what it said to the server. So we want to say, when the server writes back, log what it says, then kill the client. So client on data, we're going to expect an inbound message. And we're going to do just like we did before, message string equals inbound message to string. And now we can take the console log that we did here and really just paste it in. It's the same log, except it should say different things. It's going to say I wrote the outbound message and they said the message string. But what the client is logging and what the server is logging should be two different messages. Lastly, we need to kill the client, so we're going to call client end. Now I'm going to open up two different tabs. In this one, I'm going to start up the server, so I'm going to call node miscellaneous net server.js. Now that that's running, I'm going to go to the other tab and call node miscellaneous net client.js, and this is going to create the connection and send it off. Now, we see that the client has logged something out. The client has said, I wrote ping, which we see they did, and they said pong. Now let's go to the server. The server says, I wrote pong, and they said ping. That is exactly what we were hoping it would do. So this is how you set up a raw TCP client and server, and at this point we can move on to the next lecture.